our next question really is, what advice would you give to like dancers or people who are aspiring to start pursuing dance as a career, but they're like, I don't know if I should.
Pursuing dance as a career. So this actually goes into kind of like the second reason why I started my company. I think it kind of comes from like, let me turn this down. I feel like someone who wants to pursue dance as a career, I feel like as women, there are a lot of challenges that no one told me about.
Mm.
So like in my dance team for my kids, like it's not obvious in a lot of the things I'm teaching them, but I'm going to be phasing in once we start meeting in person again. I'm going to be phasing in some stuff about contracts and
Mm.
about how to make sure that you're reading the contract. What's a good contract? What's a shitty contract? Or child friendly
Labor
versions too.
laws. Yeah.
So that I think there's like a lot of sexism that you have to be able to navigate. Like
Mhm.
you're never gonna like it's not gonna be eradicated, right? But there's like ways to navigate it that are helpful, and then there's like ways to navigate it where you look like a crazy person.
Mm.
So even though you're not. So like a lot of what I'm teaching is like I guess my advice to somebody who wants to pursue dance is you have to know what you're talking about and you have to come up with solutions. You have to come up with your own creative solutions. So like when there is something you don't like about the way a dance team is run or the way that some things are going down on a gig.
Mhm.
I've had some gigs where all of a sudden you show up and this director of this music video was like listing all the clothing items that I was about to take off. And I was like, that was not what we agreed on. You know
That
what I
was on contract, was it?
It was not because I didn't have one. Because I
Oh.
just moved out to LA and I didn't know anything about contracts. What is a contract? Right? So I just showed up thinking, oh yeah, it's like a friend of a friend who makes music. This is going to be so cool. And then it immediately became like an unsafe situation. I show up, there's all these drunk guys on the set
Oh
that
man.
are not, by the way, working on the set. They're just there.
Homies. So yeah.
Yeah.
God.
I was
Okay.
like, that's interesting. Like, because all the equipment looked very cheap, but then like the bar setup looked real expensive. So I was,
The only thing that they wanted. Okay.
yeah. So it was, I feel like if you are empowered and you're putting in the work and the time and the energy to learn your craft, you're going to be able to spot some bullshit much quicker, and you're going to be able to not maybe even enter those situations in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
But then at the same time, if you are really educated, you do show up to places and there's things that you're like not loving, like you're being harassed by your dance director, for example, which has happened to me. You can find ways to talk about those things that stick to the facts,
Mm.
right? Because that's what people are ready to hear. They're ready to hear like a creative solution. They're ready to hear like, well, would you guys mind if I talk to you guys, the board of directors? Can I just come to your meeting for just 2 minutes and just talk to you guys about my idea for our costumes for the next set? Because I really had some good ideas. And if you can like come through with ideas as opposed to he's harassing me and I don't like it and I don't want to wear what you're telling me to wear, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
that. No one's going to listen to that shit. Even though you're right,
Yeah.
no one's going to listen to that. So I feel like someone coming in wanting to be successful in the dance industry, like that's what I would say is arm yourself with knowledge and really get in touch with your own creative muse, like your own energy.
Yeah.
Like meditate, do whatever you need to do, because then when something doesn't sit right with you, you're not just sitting there like, oh, I hate what's happening. This sucks because I'm really passionate about dance, but I'm really pissed. You can just find a way to make that situation, better or what it ideally should be.
Yeah.
So, there's going to be a lot of moments, especially for, someone who's just starting out. You're going to not every situation is going to be ideal, and it takes a while to find your tribe. So,
Mm-hmm.
like on the journey, put in the work. Don't be afraid to say no to things that make you uncomfortable so that you can keep your integrity and keep your light shining bright. So when things do come forward where you're like, ooh, that's what I want to do, you can jump in with both feet.
Mm.
And with full confidence, and you can contribute, and then people are going to want you there.
Yeah. So yeah, I feel like a lot of people are going to try to, especially if you're first starting, they're trying to take advantage of people who are inexperienced and don't know what's up.
Yeah.
Like because they just want to, give you an opportunity, quote unquote. exposure and all that. And
Yeah,
it's and again, those without a contract, that means they can pretty much try to tell you to do anything.
anything could have happened.
Yeah, so that's which is not a very good situation for it at all, because it's, I mean, you do, yes, you do, you would have the option to leave, but most people, in my opinion, just like they feel the pressure of trying to make something happen for themselves, they kind of pressure themselves to stay even though it's not good for them. So
So true. That's a fucking life skill. I watched a movie that I don't like that much called The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo based on that book.
oh yeah, that was a great book.
I haven't read the book. I'm excited to read the book. I think it's going to be better than the movie. I didn't really enjoy the movie, but one part that was like fucking so dope, which is like completely exactly what we're talking about, is like this dude, without like giving away too many details, there's like this like fucked up person, and they're like, oh yeah, just come with me for a second alone. Just like, yeah, just come into like this place alone with just me. Yeah, come on. And like because the person was quote nice or smiling, the other person who knew something was off went anyway.
Mm.
They followed this like creepy ass person, even though they knew something was wrong because they felt obligated to be nice. And then the person just fucks you up because they're like, you knew something was wrong, but you came anyway.
Mm.
And I was like,
Yeah.
dude, that's so true. And in
Yeah.
creative spaces, we have to be so aware of ourselves because it's like it's your passion. And if your passion is the same as your career, like that hits so much harder when you're in an unsafe space. Like it hurts on every level.
It's something you love so dearly, but then it's violated by some fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and especially with, I don't know if you've heard anything that's happening in the dance community with, you've heard, okay, yeah, that's kind of, whew,
I know.
it's just wild. Like,
Yeah. What are you thinking about? Like as a dance leader, the head of a company, like what's going through your mind when you're looking at those things?
well, the first thing that's really coming up for me is like how much ego can get in the way, or how much people's, when they get this quote unquote fame, how much people start really operating from ego and instead of like really looking for the best of other people. For me, as well as like, I don't know, I guess disappointed in a sense that that shitty people were put on a pedestal.
Yeah.
Because like as much as I I talk shit, I give them into any of the temper tantrum rehearsals, but like, or when you were at the meetings, you saw the dynamic. I talk shit to the whole team
Yes.
because but it's like out of love, but like it's I don't know, like I haven't really verbalized it. I've thought a lot about it, and it's just disappointing that it's happening. And I've also questioned myself, like, if I, being a leader, like, what did I put someone in the uncomfortable situation? But I was so blind because my ego was in the way. So like, who have I put in that situation? Did I put anyone in that situation? Because like, one, it sucks to be canceled, but two, it's like, it sucks like for me, because I've shared with you like what I went through in the reaction video, like what I had to do, like 52 weeks of anger management, all that stuff with so I shared with you like that stuff. I like that has helped me kind of look back and see where I was in the wrong. And then I just like a lot of, especially the people who did the hurting, and it's very, I would say, abuser mentality or talk, where they would say it takes two to do this, or or the gaslighting. It's like, there's the whole thing is like, you don't get to be the one that says if they got hurt or not, if you did the hurting. So, and then as a person who has done the hurting, it's the things that are really lacking is empathy of what's happening and taking responsibility of it, even though like, you, in your head, you may not have done anything wrong. The fact that there's a human being in front of you that's hurting, to dismiss it is, I think, is cruel, because it's essential. If you can be a part of someone's healing, why not? But then that's the thing, it's, as someone who has a lot of fame and a lot of attention and all that stuff, it can get to their head and they can feel untouchable. They can get away with certain things. So it's like, yeah, in a sense, it sucks. But also, as someone else who's seeing it, I'm kind of, for lack of a better way of saying it, I'm glad it is happening to someone else, because then I get to learn from it. Because then I'm like, because it's a reminder for me, like, how I think I just discussed this with my girlfriend. I feel like in the very, very early days of fanbase, I feel like I could have gone that route, but thankfully there were people that were like, they were brave enough to call me out, and I'm grateful that I was willing to really reflect on the feedback and like and shift how I was approaching leadership. But yeah, like ultimately, I want to create a truly a safe environment where I can talk shit to everyone.
The healthy balance.
Yeah, because it's cool, because it's like they you see them create all these amazing things. They're famous, they're Instagram famous, they're doing all these gigs, but it's like in my head I was always like, because I've heard some of the things that happen. I actually wasn't expecting to talk about this, because I was trying to avoid talking about it, because I kind of wanted to make it into a group podcast. But I also want to be respectful to the people sharing their stories, because we're outside looking in.
Right.
So, but like, just coming from the perspective of someone who's led and witnessing, yeah, like I always wondered, at what cost did you do to get there? Who did, like, I'm not gonna say who did you have to hurt, but how much did you have to push? Like, not just yourself, because it was your team, like, because there's a level of excellence that they do have with I guess the technical aspect of dancing. But what about the culture, which is, for me, is much more important than dancing really cool? Because I'd much rather be on stage with people who are like, we can look to each other on stage and like know that this is going to be an amazing memory, and we can talk about it next week, and or like if you fucked up, or the experience overall. Because I mean, the whole thing, life is just a bunch of experiences. That's it. And if if the process to getting there, yes, it's hard work, but you don't have to make it any harder than it is by being a dick about it.
Right.
So what about you? Like, what are your thoughts? Because you're a leader yourself. And
I've been thinking a lot about this. So I have a lot of thoughts, but my big takeaway is learning how to say sorry. So there's times in my life where just one-on-one with friends, family, whoever, where I've just been like,
I love how animated you are.
and then like as soon as I say, I'm sorry,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it feels good to say sorry. So I'm trying to figure out like what is the best way to educate my students on their own rights and how they deserve to be respected, right? So like I do have a pretty good atmosphere of like, I'm always like asking them like, what do you guys need? So I want them to practice understanding what they need. Like, do you need water? Do you need a break? Do you need to run again? What do you guys need? Because I'll have a plan, but I'll kind of modify based on what we want. Because I'm working with children. It's like they have their own. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on for them. So that's kind of my big takeaway is like, if I ever teach something like, and I'm like, oh, it was actually on and one, just like getting in this habit of, oh, I'm sorry, you guys, it's actually this, my bad, and just because I always do that, but it's just like kind of affirming in me the importance of always being ready to say you're sorry, because then when it comes to bigger issues, like the bigger issues probably won't come up because you're already in the mindset of like, how do I respect people the most? It's like, not like what's like, how good can we fucking get? It's like, how do I do the most good for you?
Mm-hmm.
Being like the mindset. So definitely, I feel like the apology situation was a whole situation that is completely invalidating, completely gaslighting in that particular what's going on in the dance community.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, across the board, just awful. So, being able to truly feel sorry about some shit you did wrong, like that's tough.
Yeah. And actually, embodying being sorry, not just saying, oh, I'm sorry, and just like saying it to say it, because some people, just say it just to like get them off their backs.
Yeah, and making like key adjustments. So like there's like I had a conversation actually when this came up with
Mm.
some parents on my team.
Mm.
Like that could have gone really bad, but I want them to understand, like, because I have them fill out these privacy forms about when you're working with children. I don't want to talk to your child alone in their bedroom. Please do not hand them your phone. No texting allowed. I have like a whole form about
That's
safety.
good. Yeah.
And it's like, I just wanted to let them know, like, there's a context to this. Not every teacher is Miss Amanda. So, as much as we want to, like, love the dance community, and I brought some of my kids to 5 juniors, so they're like, we wanted to, like, yeah, like in it, right? They want to be like, wow, we want to be like that. It's like, we also have to understand there's, like, flaws in every community. There's things that we all got to work on.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of my takeaway is like, how do I'm just like meditating on how do I further educate parents so that they're armed with certain, I'm just trying to empower them. Basically, our conversation was, you don't ever have to feel uncomfortable in any dance situation ever. If I don't care how many trophies somebody's won, I don't care what they're saying. If you don't like how your child's being treated, I empower you to leave the situation, period.
Yeah.
That was kind of our conversation, because I don't know if they're going to dance with me 5 years from now, 7 years from now, but it's more about just letting them know, like, hey, it's uncomfortable, but this is what's going on.
Yeah.
And I want you guys to just know right now that this is why I have you fill out these forms. This is why we treat your children the way we treat them.
Yeah, and then about the one that happened in Las Vegas too, right?
I'm trying to not.
Okay, yeah. That's
to be honest with you, I watched like all the of that particular team, and then once I got to a certain point, I said, okay, like, I'm good. I understand how these people are operating. It's given me a framework to better discuss safety protocols with my clients. Like, that's where I need to be.
yeah. I mean, it's tough because with the dance community, there's like, it's the community. There's no board, overlooking the whole thing. So every team is pretty much the Wild West. You can run it every way every which way you want. You can practice till 6 a.m. just so you can compete and all that other stuff.
Right.
It's, and then people are, obviously they're dedicated or passionate about it, but it's like, again, it goes at the thing, like at what cost, like, as if you have people that are down and the team as a whole says it's cool, I think, that's cool. As a directors, obviously it's your job to, obviously push the team to be at the next level, but you also have to check in with them as well to see where they're at, which I think is a lot of missing. But yeah, the Las Vegas situation is interesting.